Puneet Bhasin, international cyber law expert, privacy and data protection, and GDPR expert, cyber crimes, TEDx speaker, thought leader, and author. And Mr. Damandev Sutsar, director, DBD training and consultancy, with a record of over 14,000 hours of training, teaching, a well known speaker, author, mentor, coach, and international resilience trainer. Very soon, we shall be beginning with the webinar. Daman sir has already joined us. Puneet ma'am is going to join us soon. I request all the participants to kindly ensure whatever devices they are connected with us through for today's webinar, they should be able to access the chat window on the same. This chat window is an important mechanism, dear participants, because it is through the chat window that we shall be communicating with you. Any questions you have from our speakers for today's session, you can keep writing the same in the chat window. Further, at the end of the session, a feedback form link for the certificate of participation generation for today's session. Yes, dear participants, you can earn yourself a certificate of participation for today's session. The feedback form link for the same shall be shared with all our participants at the end of the session in the chat window. So kindly ensure you, your friends, your colleagues, everybody joins this WebEx room in huge numbers to earn themselves a certificate of participation at the end of the session. Kindly ensure whatever details you write for in the feedback form, they are all correct. You do not make a mistake while writing your details, because any mistake that you make while writing your details shall be directly reflected into your certificate. And refilling the feedback form with the same email ID is not possible. So please ensure that you carefully fill in your details in the feedback form, which shall be shared with all of you at the end of today's session. Very soon, we shall be beginning with today's session.
So, do you realize the time? Let's go for an unplanned poll. In the chat box, please write your understanding of DPDPA on a scale of 1 to 10. My response is first, I'm saying I'm actually at 1 currently. I don't know what is this animal called DPDPA. Can we see your responses in the chat box, please?
Dear participants, before we begin with the session, we would like, sir, would like to know what is your understanding of DPDPA. So kindly rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being that you have no understanding of it, and 10 being that you already know about the act.
And the good news is we have at least one who says 10 on 10. Great.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking forward to, because I would rate myself even less than 1. But because I gave a scale of 1 to 10 only, so I picked up 1 for myself. 5, couple of 5s, great. When we are getting fives and tens to this question, it tells us that we are an aware society. That's a good news for the country. Intention is that if we move the needle by the end of the session, more and more people saying 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 10.
Absolutely, sir. That is what we hope by the end of this session today. I would say not a 10 on 10, but at least most of us end this session today with a 7 on 10 or an 8 on 10 at least.
Yes, yes. I would be happy even if I rate myself at 2. There's an upward movement from 1 to 2. Yeah.
Absolutely, sir.
And for the information of all participants, at the end, as for all of these webinars, you will be getting the participation certificates as well as a summary of this act that has been created by our speaker, Advocate Puneet Bhasin. She has agreed that that document could be shared with all.
Yes, sir. At the end of the session, on submission of the feedback form, dear participants, along with the certificate of participation, a small summary of the DPDA Act, which has been shared by Advocate Puneet Bhasin with all of us, shall be shared with all the participants.
It seems responses have stopped pouring in. So let me ask another question, again an unplanned call while we are waiting for the main speaker for the evening. Something similar to this, quite recent, would have been the Indian IT Act. So once again, what is your understanding of Indian IT Act? Because we are looking forward to getting another speaker in one of the next webinars to be talking on that on a scale of 1 to 10 once again. And I would say I am 1 there as well. Can we have your responses in the chat box, please? 1.5, wow. One, 1.5, 3. It's not too cold yet. Not even in Delhi, I believe, while people have joined from so many different places. We could be moving our hands and fingers quick, fast. Okay, let me change it differently, to ask it differently, that's a different question also. As we have been saying, this is 135th webinar or 136th webinar in this series?
136, sir.
This is 136th. So how many have you attended roughly from top of your mind in percentage out of 136? What percentage you would have attended? And my perhaps would be 20%. I know Dr. Ritika, Professor Huda and their team would be 100%. So they are not allowed to participate in this poll. Otherwise, we will be disheartened. 65 is percentage, is 60, 70 is percentage. I asked percentage. What percentage of webinars have you attended? 50% is the response. 65, 70, I'm not sure. 25, 20% was mine. It could be a little less also actually for me. 98, once again, is it a number or is it the percentage? 33.33%. Wow. I believe people are using AI to get these so accurate calculations, 33.33. Dr. Subramanian is saying 98. It could be 98% perhaps. Then again, we will have to request him to be disqualified from the game. Anyone above 90% should be kept out, otherwise, we will be disheartened. But that also gives us the target. We could be looking forward to moving up. All right, percentage, someone says 98%. Dr. Subramanian says great. Now, Pratik, you have said 45%. Not exactly sure. In my last college, it was higher than this. I'm not sure about that. You may like to type a little more. We are talking of this series out of 136 webinars. How many have you attended so far in percentage? Or do you mean to say that you were attending all these from your college? And at that time, it was a very high percentage. Many coming 40%, which I believe is very good, isn't it, Professor Oda? 40% is a very good
Oh
attendance.
yes, oh yes, and that too over a period of more than 3 years.
Right, right, right.
And people are very conservative in writing the percentage. Probably they are writing at this moment less percentage than what they have attended. I could see many of the participants who are personally known to me are writing very conservative percentage. Anyway,
Yes,
that's
please.
good. Let's estimate from the bottom.
Okay. So I got to speak to the speaker once again. This challenge. She has a very young baby, and she's attempting to take care of that at the same time. I have requested if she's not able to manage, otherwise she could come even with baby, and then we perhaps will take this as the commitment a mother shows. Pratik says, I wish to join more in future. Very good. Ask others also, please. And actually, anyone who is willing to speak could be a speaker as well. So get in touch with the organizing team, Professor Huda, and his team is always looking forward to. Next question then. While we understand people have been joining these webinars from other countries also, immediately I wouldn't know whether there are people from other countries also. But even if there are people from other countries, this news, this question is about India. Something special happened in for India today. What's that? In the chat box, please. Fastest finger first. I'm not going to give that answer. I know the answer already. I know what I'm looking forward to. Something special, great happened for India this morning. In the chat box, please. ISRO, but what ISRO? Gaganyaan test. All right, what was the test? Quickly, once again. And ISRO Gaganyaan test. What test? Yes, that's true. You're right. But I'm asking a little more. Someone said Digital Data Protection Board. I don't know whether this is in response to the last question. I do not know what happened in Digital Data Protection Board. He or she could type in more a little bit, please. With crew member on board, I'm not sure. Was there a crew member or was it a test that they will be able to? Dr. Ritika, can someone help her? She says she's online, but as an attendee.
Okay, sir, sure. Preeti ma'am, we can promote Puneet ma'am to panelist. We can please check in attendees. Puneet ma'am has already joined us.
So someone, I have not gone deep into the news. I thought it was a test only for the capsule to be landed. That test was being done, but was any crew member on board? It'll be good to know. Harshit says no, and that's what I thought. Soon they will be doing that. So this is the first stage of that preparation. Then when India takes someone, a human being, to the space and they land back as well.
Puneet ma'am has already joined us. Good evening, ma'am. Welcome to the webinar. Ma'am, you are on mute. Please unmute yourself. Puneet ma'am, you are muted. Good evening, ma'am. Welcome to the webinar.
Good evening. Yes.
Good evening, Puneet.
Ma'am, can we begin with the session?
Sure. Daman, please start. Let's start the fireside chat.
Ma'am, I would just
Dr.
welcome.
Ritika will take first and then she will pass it on to me.
Sure.
Thank you, sir. A very pleasant evening to all distinguished panelists and participants. Bharati Vidyapeeth's Institute of Computer Applications and Management, BVI CAM, in association with Computational Intelligence Society, CIS chapter of IEEE Delhi section, Computer Society chapter of IEEE Delhi section, Technology and Engineering Management Society, TEMS chapter of IEEE Delhi section, System, Man and Cybernetics, SMC Society chapter of IEEE Delhi section, Communication Society of IEEE Delhi section, Consultants Network Affinity CNA Group of IEEE Delhi section, Life Member Affinity LMA Group of IEEE Delhi section, Inter-Society Relations IRS Standing Committee of IEEE Delhi section, Industry Relation and Special Interest Group on Humanitarian Technology, Site Standing Committee of IEEE Delhi section, Region 10 of IEEE with the associations of Computer Society of India, CSI, Institute of Information Technology Professionals, IITP, ISTE Delhi section, and IETE Delhi Center as technical collaborators. Welcome you all today to this 136th IEEE IETE BVI Camp Technical Lecture Series on Unleashing Digital Personal Data Protection Act, DPDPA 2023. It is a moment of pride and honor to announce that we with united hands mark special contribution for the monumental occasions Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, an initiative to celebrate 75 years of glorious independence, as well as contribute our bit in seeking to find practical global solutions for the benefit of all. The aim of India during its G20 presidency tenure in 2023. This webinar today is also an initiative to mark both these monumentous occasions, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, as well as our G20 presidency. According to actor Marlon Brando, privacy is not something that I'm merely entitled to. It's an absolute prerequisite. This quote depicts the importance of the fact that our privacy should be protected at all costs. But what if we do everything in our power to spread our own private information across the world voluntarily? The Indian Digital Personal Data Protection Act, DPDPA 2023, was released recently. What is digital? What is personal? Who is impacted how? What are our rights? Are some of the many questions that many of us have in mind. Equally important is another question. Do we have any duties with respect to the Act? Our expert speaker, Advocate Puneet Bhasin, is going to throw light on all of these. You are all requested to raise your questions during the interactive session. So let us gear to face the challenges of DPDPA and be compliant with the same. Today's session is aimed to discuss all these issues and concerns. I would first take this opportunity to welcome amongst us our distinguished panelists for the day. We are privileged to have amongst us a galaxy of experts. I would first welcome amongst us Professor M.N. Huda sir, Director, Bharati Vidyapeeth's Institute of Computer Applications and Management, BVI CAM, and Executive Vice Chairperson, IEEE Delhi Section. I would request sir to address the participants with his inspiring words.
Am I audible, Dr. Ritika?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, one and all. And at the outset, let me welcome today's valued speaker, Advocate Puneet Bhasin, who is a noted expert for this particular domain. I'm also grateful to my friend Mr. Daman, who keeps on taking interest, initiative, and keeps on helping me, facilitating me for organizing lectures after lectures. And I'm grateful to all my friends from various professional societies, including Professor Subramaniam, the former chairperson of IEEE Delhi section, Professor Bhatia from IETE, and all my friends who keep on helping and facilitating me for these lecture series, because of which today we are entering into the 36th lecture of this series, which is being run since 2020 in the backdrop of I take this opportunity to welcome you all, my friends. The sustainability of this series, the continuity of this series has even been appreciated at international level, and IEEE headquarters has adjudicated it as this series the best series in the world, and that will be awarded in November 2020, November 2023. So credit goes to all my participants and of course my team as well, and all my friends who kept facilitating me for the purpose of organizing lectures after lectures. Dear friends, the today's topic which has been kept is a very important topic for all of us, not only for the purpose that government has come up with some bill, and the bill is named as Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023, DPDPA 2023, but also important that it connects to each one of us. It connects to everyone, whether directly or indirectly. And there has been huge debate in past that the people who are creating breach in data privacy, is there any legitimate way to get them protected? And that's how the government has come up with the bill, which is named as Digital Personal Data Protection Act, DPDPA 2023. For these of us are here, and we have invited Advocate Puneet Bhasin, a noted expert of this domain, to discuss on this. My dear friends, data defines who has the authorized and legitimate access to data. Day in, day out, we are receiving mails, we are receiving calls that our phone number, our mobile numbers have been compromised, our mail IDs have been compromised, our many of the personal details have been compromised. So the question every time comes into our mind that way we have many legal rights. So whether the privacy of the data is legal, is a legal right to the individuals or not. Even the Supreme Court in case of Aadhaar case has upheld the privacy. So data privacy primarily, friends, is the ability of a person to determine for when, how, and to what extent personal information, the personal data about themselves is can be shared or communicated to others. That is important concern. This personal information can be one's name even, can be one's location, can be a contact information, or maybe online and real world behavior, the way Google is capturing all our real world behavior. That is also a breach of the privacy, and we do not know that what apps we are downloading and to which all apps we are allowing or we are giving permission to access our locations, etc., etc. And on contrary to this, if someone has done some breach, so how to get it protected? So it is said that individual's autonomy is important, and this act is going to empower each one of us individuals to maintain control over our personal information. It may also allow us to decide how our data is going to be collected by others, used by others, and shared with each other on the platform. And unless we start respecting individuals' autonomy, many of the developed nations had already had this kind of bills. The India now has done it. So data privacy ensures that the personal information is not going to be exploited or used without the consent of the person. Data protection, which is of course the part of the crux of this particular bill, is going to provide tools and policies to actually restrict the unauthorized and illegitimate access to the data. And compliance regulations connected with this will help us to ensure that users' privacy requests are carried out by the companies, and the companies are responsible to take measures to protect private user data. So it's a very important concern to each one of us, and we need to understand it. Whether we are working in the domain of computer science, we are professionally connected somewhere, or we are nowhere connected. But it is also important because my personal information is going to be misused. So it's a very important. So my request to all of you, please pay attention, and I am sure the expertise with our speaker today, Advocate Puneet Bhasin, has. If we pay attention, probably this will solve our many of the doubts and will help us to understand that what can be done if our data privacy has been breached upon. And it should not get restricted to this place. Rather, you should share this information with your friends, with your colleagues, with your students, with your family members even, and see to it that what best can be done for the purpose of data privacy and protection. So wish you all the best. Keep learning despite disruptions. And we keep on now on alternate week basis. We organize the webinar. So next to next Saturday, we'll meet again with a new topic. Mr. Daman is here to help us to understand how can we be resilient, or how can we live a happy life. That's important for all of us. We may be doing many things, but if we are not enjoying a happy life, if we are not understanding ourselves as a resilience, so huge disaster across the world is happening. Disaster is not only that some earthquake has come, disaster is not only some war has come, disaster is in multiple way. So मैं हमेशा कहता हूं कि फूलों की तरह फिर खिलेंगे हम, फूलों की तरह, यही है रेजिलियंसी एंड डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट प्लान, दैट फूलों की तरह फिर खिलेंगे हम, और अगले से अगले सैटरडे एक नए टॉपिक के साथ फिर मिलेंगे हम. Thank you so much to all my friends. God bless you all. Over to you, Dr. Ritika.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. With this, I now welcome amongst us our expert speakers, Advocate Puneet Bhasin ma'am and Daman Dev Sood sir with an e-bouquet. Advocate Puneet Bhasin ma'am is a pioneer in technology laws in India and a cyber law expert practicing in Mumbai in matters involving cyber crimes, e-commerce and intellectual property dispute in cyberspace, along with advising online gaming companies, content-based mobile apps and set-top boxes, payment on-demand video providers about the legalities of the same. She is the founder of Cyberjaw Legal Consulting, a Mumbai-based firm specializing in technology, media, and entertainment laws. Among the first in India to lay the foundation of cyber laws and online entertainment laws, most nationalized banks, multinational corporations, and companies are her clients for cybercrime traces along with information technology law audits, GDPR compliance audits, and cybersecurity audits. She is a pioneer of blockchain laws in India and the only advocate practicing in smart contracts, legal compliance of blockchain applications. She is also an advisor to the Rajya Sabha Committee on formulation of internet laws and technology laws in India. She forms a part of advisory committee to the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology on the new data protection framework to be adopted by the Government of India. She's also a member of the Cybersecurity Task Force Working Group since the last 3 years. It is an initiative by the Data Security Council of India in collaboration with NASSCOM India. She focuses on skills and policy development for the Digital India movement. We feel honored to have you amongst us today, ma'am. We are also honored to address our another intellect speaker for the evening, Mr. Daman Dev Sood sir. Sir has over 38 years of experience in the industry and over 18 years in the resilience domain. A certified international and corporate trainer with over 14,000 hours of training or teaching experience, achieving 100% NPS and holding over 13 copyrights. Sir is a CPD member. Two courses of his are CPD certified, an author of 6 published books on resilience. He has designed over 40 courses, including those for global entities like BCI, BCS, NECMA, etc. In his professional journeys with corporates like TCS, Zansa, Continuity, and Resilience City, Innovates, EY, HSBC, Sir has played various senior executive roles like principal consultant, group head, practice head, COO, CIO, VP, board member, program director, etc. He has traveled and worked in over 20 countries and is an international speaker. He has also served in various industry sectors like government, IT, banking, financial services, insurance, telecom, marine, manufacturing, pharma, power, media, training, etc. On his journey, he has won multiple national and global awards and has also been inducted into the BCI Hall of Fame. As a LinkedIn invited contributor, he has already contributed over 15 articles so far and is top voice training and HR. Currently director at the one-person company DPD Training and Consultancy, Sir serves as an international resilience trainer and consultant serving cybersecurity, operational organizational resilience, BCM, risk and crisis. He is also the chair for PR&P Standing Committee IEEE Delhi section and IEEE ambassador. I welcome Sir to today's session also.
Very much.
Uh, Due to some technical glitch, the bouquet was not shared in the beginning. So a very warm welcome to sir and ma'am for today's session before I hand over the session to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir and ma'am. And now I'll request you to kindly begin with the session.
Thanks, Dr. Ritika. Puneet, we were also advertising or promoting this session as fireside chat, but there is no fire here. But with your permission, I would like to start firing questions. Is that okay?
Sure, definitely, definitely.
Great. Thank you very much. So straight way into the topic. What is DPDPA? In short, because I'm going to be asking a few more questions, which will help us to go deep. Intention is to get maximum gain from your experience today.
See, the Digital India Data Protection Act, that's what DPDP stands for, is primarily with respect to data handling practices and compliances for organizations in India. So right now, if you see a lot of organizations, whether they may be from India, outside India, handling Indian data, are not having any laws or norms that they need to adhere to. So the act is primarily aimed at drawing up a set of compliances, rules, the processes for handling data, whether or not it can be collected, how data can be legitimately collected, what legitimizes data collection. All of this has to be included in this cross-border data transfer. So a lot of compliance is put into place, and obviously non-compliance, which leads to penalties being imposed by the Data Protection Board. So in short, that's exactly what the act encompasses.
Great. Thank you very much. So is it live applicable now?
Yes, it's already enacted. Now, whether the penalties will be imposed from today, if that is your question, then that there is a period that is given, a breathing, cooling period to organizations for compliance. So once the rules come out, there will be a full clarity on that. 6 months period is already there from enactment. So August, it was already enacted. You're already 2.5 months down from there.
Okay. So what do you call it? Is it a rule, an act, a guideline, mandate, or legislative?
It is an act, and the act is going to have multiple rules thereunder which are going to be enacted soon. So the act is already in force, which is with respect to protection of citizen data in which has been stored or kept in a digitalized format or collected in a digitized format. That's where the digital personal data concept comes, and that's the law of the land already. And under this, like the formation of the data protection board, who would be the significant data fiduciaries, so certain rules will be framed by the government or the legislature thereunder to further clarify certain level of compliances and the formation of the data protection board, which is the main regulating body.
Thanks. And you said data protection board. Did something happen this morning? Because just before you joined, we were having some interaction with the participants, and someone said data protection board has come up this morning.
Yes, so it has been constituted. That is not this morning. It has happened a couple of days back. The
All right.
appointments are still underway, which is going on.
All right. Okay. So next question that comes to mind is who all are impacted by it? Individuals, organizations, and what type of organizations? Government departments also? Yes, no, etc.
Everybody comes in the ambit of the same. whoever is collecting data for any commercial or business activity. So where you're collecting personal data, let's say you're collecting data of somebody before hiring them as a house help or a driver. In that situation, yes, you're not in that ambit. You're using it for domestic purposes. However, let's say if you're employing somebody in an organization, yes, then for every single employee's data, there is a liability that is imposed upon you to be compliant. Apart from that, with respect to any customer data, any data, including the fact that people who are walking into your office and are leaving data at the security guard's cabin outside, in a digitized format, everything is going to come within the ambit of the act.
Which actually now makes me think, assume I'm entering into your office and I make some entries. It may be on register, or it may go into computer automatically, or I pass on my card also to someone. It may be guard or the receptionist that I want to see Puneet. I have an appointment with Puneet, and that's left in your office. Does that also come into the gamut of this act?
Yes, see, the applicability of the act under Section 3 states only digital data. However, you need to understand data may be collected physically, but if at any stage of processing it is digitized. So wherein, let's say if somebody clicks a picture of that, let's say at any stage a data entry of that is made somewhere in a Word file or anywhere. So it's very difficult, honestly, to bifurcate physical and digital data. Tomorrow, when a data leak happens or a breach is there, proving that everything was physical is very difficult, because somebody who's, let's say, your employee, you come to my office and the employee takes a picture of your card and further goes ahead spreading the information. So it is digital data. It's the onus of proof is going to be on me to prove that the data was not in any digitized form processed by me, which is quite difficult to really prove.
Okay. Another question then comes to mind with respect to this session itself. The platform is, I'm just repeating, platform is IEEE. BVI CAM is kind of organizing institution, but for IEEE. I'm an IEEE member in this capacity. You are an invited speaker, and there are, as of now, 100 plus participants. And we have collected some data for all of these, including you and me as well. Is this then DPDPA applicable to this session or these sessions also? We are holding these now on alternate weekends. Yes.
It's definitely applicable, because you are collecting personal information. The definition of personal data is not just sensitive personal data as what it was under the intermediate rules of 2011. Personal data is referring to any and every data set that can identify you as you. It includes your name, your email ID, it includes anything and everything that can identify you as an individual in any way or profile you. So it's very important to understand over here that even when you have logged into this session where you have shared your details or registered, all of that also comes within the ambit of DPDPA compliance, and the entire plethora of how it's going to be processed. Consent, here there was no consent taken right in the beginning. So yes, even the organization will have to go ahead, have a proper consent form, and you can't just have a form. You actually need to be compliant to take that consent, wherein you will specify what data sets you are collecting, what are you going to do with that data, who are the processors, for how long you will be keeping it. You will need to provide the data protection board details, the data protection officer of your organization, the rights have to be informed, who are the data processors, option whether or not to agree to the processing of any data processor over there. I can even refuse any data processor out there. So all this options and a proper drafted consent is yet to be prepared. So yes, that is missing in the platform itself right now.
All right. Okay. So it'll be good to understand the timelines also, Puneet, with respect to compliance or adherence. So it was made a rule, or it became a rule or act about 2.5 months ago. Then what onwards?
So 2.5 months back, it is already an act, and 6 months period to big data companies, which are, let's say, not as of now MNCs or complying with the GDPR already. So those who are already complying with GDPR, with immediate effect, they have to comply. For other organizations within India, they are given a 6-month breathing pooling period. And once the rules are enacted, the rules will further clarify how much is the timeline going to be. Is it going to be immediate? For which organization, what categorization, how much time will be specified. Now, even if let's assume on the higher side 6 months, that's a very short span of time really to get a full business compliant. considering in India, we have not really had regard for data at all, or data protection of citizens. It's been misused left, right, center. So considering the Indian scenario, wherein practically data mapping will have to start, apart from that, data access controls, data protection, so many things, and including when you're giving it to a processor, let's say a data subject decides to exercise its right that it doesn't want its data, it wants its data erased. Then in that situation, you need to have a robust system wherein every processor also whom you have shared data with erases the data, else you are attracting a liability for yourself. So getting all this in place in 6 months itself is a very, very humongous task.
Okay. Good, thanks. So let's take an example immediately. And once again, this question is coming not from my notes that I already had. Puneet, we see three of us here, myself, Dr. Ritika, and you, and about 100 plus more who are not visible on the screen. Who fits where? You said data processor and data subject, and perhaps there are a few more such terms.
Yes, data controller, the person who decides and collects the. Yes, so you may ask somebody else to collect the data, but if you are determining the collection of the data, then you are the data controller.
So out of these four entities, let's say myself, Dr. Ritika, you, and the rest of the big group, who fits in where? Who is who?
Well, over here, the organizing institution, which is collecting the data, which has decided to host this event, is the data controller.
Okay.
Whichever other platform they are using, how they're storing the data. So let's say if they're even storing the data on the computers, any form of application that they're using is processing the data. So all those are data processors. That's exactly how it works. And yes, you and me are data principals because we've just entered our name and email ID at the time of registering here. So
data principals.
Yes, we are data subjects or data principals.
Data subjects.
It's our data which is being processed.
Okay. So all three or all of us actually data subject, all of our data subjects.
Yes, yes. Every
institute is processor.
Here is a data subject.
Institute is controller or collector.
Yes.
And there may be many processors.
Yes.
And there is one regulator. Who is that regulator?
That's the data protection board.
Board. All right. Which has just been constituted, we were discussing.
Yes.
Anyone else in this game? It seems only 4 or 5.
Yes, these are the main people. So the data controller, the data processor, and the data principal. These are going to be the main people involved in the entire process. These are the people who.
Yes, sorry.
Yes.
With another one, about some year ago, 2 years ago, a new term had come up, or a new position came up in the organizations, the DPO.
See, the data protection officer is primarily going to be, it's not a statutory position. Like you have the data controller or the data processor or the data principal. The data protection officer is basically a person in an organization who's deputed to work on the compliance with the act of the organization. So it's like a private position which an organization has to depute somebody, because somebody in an organization has to look at and take responsibility for the data protection impact assessments. So you're looking at this position or role, the way you have a CEO or a COO, somebody like a data protection officer.
Right.
This person is also the one point of contact if the board wants to take action or issue any notices or seek any data. So in the organization, whom do they reach out to? So it will be the data protection officer. So per se, he's not a statutory position in the act, but he is one of the key people in an organization for compliance.
Okay. If I'm not mistaken, this DPO came with GDPR, am I right?
Yes. So
and was a mandate there?
The EU GDPR is an umbrella law. So as even that, if you would see the directive also clearly specified that the member countries or the other nations which wish to follow can build their own separate legislations on the same line. So that's how India has also built its legislation on the lines of the GDPR.
Okay. So a DPO established through or for or because of GDPR can and may continue for DPDPA also. It will be well acceptable.
Yes, he can, and the compliance has to continue under the Act.
Okay. Thank you very much. So the next question that comes to mind, Puneet, is implications for non-adherence or non-compliance.
Well, the penalties are the highest that you would have seen in India, and as a matter of fact, even higher than the GDPR. For the matter of fact, close to 250 crores. So where the GDPR only mentioned that a percentage of annual revenue or turnover, The Indian Act is not drawing up that bifurcation. So over here, primarily, it's going to be with respect to the entire penalty amount. So you may be small, medium, large organization. However, if let's say you have not taken a legitimate consent and processed data, you are going to pay the penalty to the tune of 250 crores.
Minimum, maximum, or there could be a slab?
Per instance. So let's
So
say
per instance is fixed to 50
data
crore.
breach, if you're looking at a multiple number of data breaches that could have happened to multiple people's data, then you're looking at a very, very large figure.
So I'm asking maybe a repeated question. 250 crore fixed for an incident?
Up to 250.
Up to, sorry. Okay, up to 250 crores. Okay.
So
Which
there
is
are some
huge.
offenses which are 150 crores, some which are 50 crores, some which are 200 crores, like not taking a child's proper consent, like child's verifiable consent from a guardian or an adult, and profiling a child, tracking a child, targeting advertisements at children. That is 200 crores. So based on the nature of offenses, you're looking at multiple penalties that are there.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Next question in mind, Puneet, is which you have touched upon while we were discussing other questions, but I'll still ask because you may like to add a little more into that. Does DPDPA have any correlation with some other rules or acts, for example, Indian IT Act or GDPR or operational resilience? This is a mandate in UK for the
Information Technology Act has to be read along with the DPDP Act. The two are not in isolation. So where we are talking of unauthorized access and the offenses under the IT Act, you need to also read them along with the Data Protection Act. One of the things to understand is just the fact that Section 43A of the IT Act is scrapped and has been replaced by the DPDP Act, and does not mean that the criminal liability for data breaches is gone. So people can still file an FIR, they can initiate criminal proceedings for the same, they can also file for compensation under the IT Act up to 1 crore rupees for unauthorized access. And apart from that, they can make a complaint to the Data Protection Board for the penalties. The penalty amount goes to the Consolidated Fund of India. It doesn't come to the complainant. But if he files under the IT Act before the adjudicating officer up to 1 crore rupees, the compensation can come to him. Even in the criminal proceedings where he is seeking to take action against the organization or person who has breached his data, the action is going to be with respect to the accused party and he can initiate that. And the only thing being, in the Data Protection Board, he can simultaneously, like he can go about doing all these three things together. Nothing stops him from doing that. So you need to read the IT Act, the Indian Penal Code, and the Data Protection Act together.
All right. So I was just about to ask this question that, so does this mean that DPDPA is the baby of Indian IT Act?
To an extent.
Or extension of?
To an extent, you could say it's a new law with respect to data protection, which India did not have. Yes, but it has to be harmoniously read with the other acts in place already, which is the IT Act and the Information Technology Act.
Which means it's not either or, it's and.
Yes. So it's a combination of everything.
That's
so
good,
even the compliance is a combination of everything, where a lot of individuals and people really today, even organizations are, thinking of isolated compliance. That's not how it's going to happen, because a person is not just going to complain to the board. He's going to also initiate other legal action, which means you need to have an all-round compliance. The IT Act with the DPDP Act to ensure that overall you are covered.
All right. Okay. Thanks. Puneet, would like to narrate a case and then I would like your commentary upon that. Is it okay? So it's a couple of sentences that I'll read. A photo was taken in a company about 25 years ago, which means there was no act at that time, no act with respect to data privacy, etc. I mean to say. So a photo was taken in a company about 25 years ago. Someone posted this on Facebook recently, and then people started identifying each other. Many more were identifiable in that photo. So is or was anyone in breach of DPDPA? The one who posted, for example, or those who started naming colleagues. I was very happy, for example. Oh, that's Puneet. I could recognize. We worked together. We were in that project. We were there in that country. Something like that. He was my team member. She was my boss. Something like that. So is this first within DPDPA Act any offense? And then who is the offender, if any?
So in case of historical data, you need to understand that if it's not for domestic purpose, so let's say if you're doing this as a family thing where you're putting up pictures of your relatives and tagging them, that's another story. That's for domestic purpose. Where it is being done with a commercial objective and it's not a domestic purpose, that is the first bifurcation that has to be made. And with respect to data that has already been collected prior to the enactment of the act, and a consent now has to be taken. And in the event that a person does not withdraw consent, so if withdrawal of the consent is not there, it's presumed that there is a deemed consent existing.
Okay. So if I don't say no, it's automatically yes. But in this case, 25 years ago, no one was asking the such questions. No one asked and I didn't say yes or no. But now my data is being displayed. And some of these people may be in other countries also, where the rules perhaps are stricter than in India.
See, but Indian law has extraterritorial application with respect to Indian data. So the fact that you are an Indian and your data is there, then it has an extraterritorial jurisdiction from that perspective.
Maybe I'm confused, so I'm asking again. This photo was taken 25 years ago in an office, so in a commercial establishment. At that time, there were no consents, etc. No one knew about all this. Neither the person who was clicking the picture nor the person who was in the picture, for example, if I was there. And recently then, after this act has come, someone posts this picture on Facebook, assuming, and then people start identifying each other, naming.
See, if the image was
becoming
taken
data leak, information leak, personal information
if
being.
the image was taken for a domestic purpose, that is without any commercial interest, or it was a commercial.
It was in the office in a commercial organization, not for commercial purpose. Assume it was a function, we all were sitting together in a function.
No, then in that situation, there is no bifurcation as yet, and the rules will further clarify if it's applying to that situation. As of now, it is only for commercial usage of data.
Okay.
So what you are defining right now comes within domestic purpose.
All right. Okay. So as of now, it appears to be some relaxation for people like me. It's, by the way, it's a real case. And while I was not in that picture, but I was one of those who started and then, oh, I know this person. I could see this lady. I could see this gentleman. And I can name those people because many of us had forgotten those names also. So anyone who recognizes by name, actually she is a hero in this group, for example, for that moment. I'm a bit relaxed. Second case, and that again is a real one, which is real current one. I formed a company. The moment it got registered in July 2023, I started receiving mails with various offers for the company. Someone even reached home, which was the company address. So I was shocked and surprised, thought someone was selling information. Later, I realized that this information is available or was available publicly on MCA site. So is MCA in breach of DPDPA, or is DPDPA even applicable to MCA?
See, again, where you're talking of historical data breaches, the act is enacted now. And data which is there in public domain, which is actively being used for commercial purposes, is what requires consent. What you are talking is of past data breaches.
Okay, so because this company I'm saying is July, the act came in August.
Yes.
Assuming MCA wouldn't have changed, I have not checked, but I should do that homework. I'll get in touch with you once again. I'm saying assume MCA has not changed, even if a company is formed today, that information will be openly available on their site to any public person, and then people may start using that, and those people are getting in touch with me for commercial purposes.
No, but that is a proper disclosure of information in a public domain that you have made for the company incorporation. So then you cannot consider that to be data that is, violative in any format. So for example, today, if I am publicly allowing the sharing, I have consented, this is my company, I'm giving this as a registered address, as a registered contact detail. Then in that situation, that is already information in the public domain.
Okay.
So public domain information which is already there cannot be used to constitute a breach in that situation then.
So while I'm advocating with this,
so that is one of the defenses that organizations have in the situation of a data breach, where they can identify that this information was already in the public domain.
Understood. Understood. So the one who is using this information, who someone who reads my home, the company, to sell their services, offer their services, have picked it from the publicly available space. But who made it available, MCA, for example, I'm admitting I cannot recollect whether any such consent was taken that my data will be put
That is
public.
backdated consent. That is backdated consent. Today, now when they're going to start incorporating and when the act is enforced, they will be explicitly taking your consent.
They should be, they would be making
Yes.
some changes in there. We expect that they
Yes,
would make some
everybody,
changes
every business will have
in
to
their
make those
process.
changes.
Because they are also under the gamut of, under the scope of this act.
Yes, yes. Every single organization will have to make changes.
Great. Thank you very much, Puneet. And if you do not mind, can I share with our audience why your camera has gone off? I want to say this as a dedication of a mother. Is it okay? Otherwise, we understand. At least I know, and the organizers know I had shared this with Dr. Ritika and Professor Hoda also. Will not take much time, but I want to put kind of last question to you. Top tips for us, me, we, the audience, with respect to DPDPA. Your top tips.
I can't hear you. Can you just repeat the same?
Sorry. First, I said that we know the reason why your camera has gone off.
Yes.
And that's actually a dedication of the mother I wanted to just share with the viewers. Kind of last question, I was saying.
Yes.
Your top tips for us, me, we, the audience, all of us. Top tips with respect to DPDPA.
Well, the most important thing is think before you share data. Before you consent, always read the consent form as to what data sets you're sharing. Is it even required for that particular service? See, a simple thing like today sharing out your mobile numbers. You understand a lot of you are doing mobile banking with those numbers only as registered mobile numbers. So, where the misuse may happen, how data can be misused, all of this is something which you may not anticipate today. But there are more than enough fraudsters who exactly know how to misuse your data. So it's very, very crucial for you to understand that, is it really necessary for you to share data even when you're downloading applications on your cell phone? How much of access should you give? Does it require microphone access? Does it require access to your photographs? Does it require access to data? You need to take a very informed decision and call on whether or not, irrespective. Now the act has come. Even before the act was there, the same situation was there. Now that the act is there, I guess the awareness should be more that you make a very reasoned choice as to what you are going to share, and also understand the implications of a breach of it if eventually it happens. Accordingly, you choose what data you should share.
Okay.
And
so
only what is necessary.
Sorry. A little more, any more? One is being aware for, I'm underlined in bold, beautiful italics, being aware.
Yes.
And this is one attempt that we had this session this evening. I had said the last question, but then when you have said this, think before you share.
Yes.
Think of implications of misuse if it gets leaked. Again, a case coming to mind. But today, account opening in a bank, new account opening. The bank says no need to come to the branch. I'm also happy as a customer. It's a good service bank is providing. Please stay at home. We will send a person who will complete the formalities. So she comes to my home and takes pictures, etc. on a device. That's everything online now. There's no paperwork for me. I'm very happy. But the moment this person leaves home, so he has come within my knowledge. I wanted to open the account, bank has sent, and then I happily have shared my details, including my picture also. The moment he leaves, that device may be misused, that may be stolen, that may be misplaced, and there could be a misuse. Who would be responsible and how and up to what extent?
So the bank would be responsible, but
so it becomes applicable immediately.
Yes, obviously.
Account has not been opened yet.
No, from the point he has collected your data. But you need to understand a level of responsibility at your end also, which is purpose limitation. So organizations also need to collect only data that's necessary for the purpose. So if he's opening a bank account, he does not require your annual income. He doesn't require your ITR. He doesn't require your wife's name and details. He requires only information pertinent to opening your bank account. So he needs to restrict himself to what data he's collecting for the service. And you also need to ensure that you impose that restriction. So today, if he's collecting 10 different data sets and you require only 3 for opening the bank account, then you need to go ahead and say, I'm going to provide you these 3 and you have to open my bank account.
Can I say that? Because that's their
Yes,
process.
you can.
I need these
That's
5
the
information you
power.
are saying
That's
only
the
3.
power that the Act gives you. That they cannot refuse to provide you a service with you refusing to provide additional data or preventing processing of data that may not be required for the service to be provided.
The challenge for this common man is that I do not know whether 5 is required by them or only 3 are required by them. So I generally would feel that they need these 5. That's why they are asking these 5. I do not know how many, what
Not
all
really.
do they
When
need
you
to
open a
open the
bank
account.
account, you can simply ask them a checklist of documents or check on the RBI site itself. The account opening requirements that are there. That's what exactly they keep doing KYC of repeatedly. So
That's very good
they
input.
simply
Okay.
require your address proof, they require your name proof. They do not really require additional information like of 5-6 pages that they really collect from you. So you need to understand, educate yourself also. That's why I said awareness. So when you're
Right.
opening a bank account, first educate yourself from the RBI sites that what is it exactly that is required for the purpose of opening a bank account. And if you are
Very good.
educated is when you can actually enforce your rights. Till then, anybody
Very
can
good.
take you for a ride, for that matter of fact.
Very good. That's really good one. Thanks, Puneet. And we will not take much of your time. We understand. And I'm repeating once again, this is commendable. Our mother's commitment that she came in and she stayed with us, answered all our queries. But there's a lot to be done here in this. We understand this even at our end. And that's first input, biggest input. We need to do our homework, being aware. If you have any questions, Puneet, I'm not sure whether you have time for questions, but before, if you are planning to leave because of the reason that you have.
Yes, I may have to leave right now. It may not
Great.
be
Thank you.
possible for me to continue.
So, Dr. Ritika, back to you, and perhaps we'll offer the audience to write questions to us, and I'll be
Yes,
happy to get
please.
those
They can
answered to
write
Puneet.
it
We'll
down.
share with them. Great.
Sure.
Thank you very much. I'll say immediately, Puneet, and a great clap for her.
Thank you, Puneet ma'am. Thank you so much for the wonderfully informative session. With this, I would now, we would take away the questions for the moment. We can discuss them later. I would say in another session we can have with ma'am. And I would now request Huda sir to kindly present a certificate and a memento to Daman sir and ma'am as a representation of this wonderful session today.
Thank you so much, Advocate Puneet Bhasin, for showing your commitment, and despite something which needed your time most, you have been with us. So thank you so much. And this certificate is not for the purpose of certification, but rather for the purpose of remembrance that you have been part of this wonderful lecture series. And of course, data protection DPDPA Act is new. We will need to have many more sessions in future. Thank you so
Surely. Thank you for having me as a part of the session. Thank you. And as suggested for the question and answer, maybe Daman can coordinate with me again and, we can have a half an hour, 45-minute session again.
I'll do that. Great.
For sure.
Thank you very much, Puneet. That's very good.
Oh, thanks a lot. Take
Thanks.
care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
We have a small memento also.
Again, just for the remembrance, not for certification or any
Thank
award.
you.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, Puneet. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Daman sir. Thank you for this wonderful session.
Thank you very
And
much.
thank you for coordinating with Puneet ma'am, though she was so busy. So thank you once again to sir as well as ma'am for this wonderful session. Dear participants, with this we come to an end to what I would say an introductory session to the DPDPA Act 2023. I think this session is more than enough to give us an introduction and the importance of this act. With this, we come to an end to this wonderful session today. I thank all our distinguished panelists and participants who have continuously supported us through this webinar. A big thank you to all of you who have joined us on this auspicious day. The feedback link for the session has already been shared in the chat window, dear participants. Kindly click on the same, fill in your details carefully to get your certificate of participation. Your questions I have noted down, dear participants. We shall surely try arranging another session where we shall be taking up all these questions with Advocate Puneet Bhasin ma'am.